this computer. Okay.
Okay.
Professor Sukhsimranjit, thank you so much for accepting this invitation. I'm so honored that you're here and that you can join us today. As you see, we are trying to do a task force of mediators, Ecuadorian mediators that are all over the world, that are very talented people and that are very good people that you can see here. Most of them are full-time practicing mediators. Some are doing other things as well. Like Alvaro is teaching, and Alfredo works with a law firm. And you will see Ana Carolina Donoso, who's coming in a minute, as she works at the Constitutional Court here in Ecuador. But all of us, we share this dream of promoting peace and making mediation go further. And we are in the search of an identity of this task force. And there is nobody better, I think, than you to have an inspirational talk and to tell us how do you see mediators' identity and give this push to us. And I'm so happy and thank you so much for accepting. We are all deeply, deeply honored to have you here. I've already shared with everybody your bio, and so I don't think it's necessary to retell them. But Sukhsimran is amazing. You'll see him. He's amazing. Thank you so much, Sukhsimran.
That's all. That's enough. The last word. I'm glad it's getting recorded. I want to play for my family that I am amazing. So I hope you hear it. And Ximena, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's not my best day. I shared with some of you. I woke up with a little bad throat, but I'm doing better now. I took some medication. So forgive my voice, but I am so excited, more than excited, to be with like-minded men and women. Allow me to say women and men, and that is the leaders in the field of mediation. So first of all, thank you, Ximena. You've been a graduate of Pepperdine's amazing dispute resolution program. You're becoming, you already are a leader in Ecuador, and you're becoming a leader worldwide. And I was so happy to have you do this initiative to put together like-minded people for the future of mediation. Yeah. So my plan, folks, is I don't have liberty of staying for an hour or so, but I will do my best to stay for as long as I can. My plan is to speak to you about identity that Ximena asked me to speak about. And how about I speak to you for 15 minutes to 20 minutes at most, and then do a quick Q&A, and then I'll take your leave if that's okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Ximena, first of all, I'm going to start with the question. First of, I think the biggest beauty of the profession of mediators is vulnerability. We need to be open about who we are and how we need to improve to continue to be good in what we do. That vulnerability comes by being accepting of our weaknesses, our strengths, and this continuous need for improvement, right? When I think of identity, I think of something we are looking for, something we are finding constantly, and something we are also born with. It's a very complex phenomenon. So if I am born, let's say, in a Sikh family in India, and I become this Indo-American Sikh person, what's my identity, right? That's a very good question. It takes you years to find what your identity is. So first of all, I want you to think about what your individual, your personal identity is before we go on to mediation. So let me spend a few minutes over there. So is your identity Ecuadorian? Is your identity Latin American? Is your identity Spanish? Is your identity Portuguese? Is your identity white? Is your identity woman and man? A mother, a father, a sister? What is that thing called identity? It's a profound question that many of us don't have answers to, but we struggle to find, and that's the beauty in it. So I have a simple theory, thinking on this field. Allow me to share with you. I think we're all born with an identity. This is our color of the skin, our religion, if you may. If you were born the same religion that you grew, or if not, that's perfectly fine as well. We all should accept each other the way we are. But your gender, in a way, your nationality in a way. We all have a nationality without our choice. We were born in a place, not because we asked, hey, I want to be born in Ecuador or India. We were given that identity to us by our parents or by default, right? Now, some of us become complacent in that identity. And I want to have a serious point here. We think we are the best. Now, that confidence is needed to be good, right? We need to have that confidence in anything we do to excel in life. I cannot be a good public speaker if I don't have confidence that I can speak, period, right? Or my family member, my child, if you may, cannot have confidence in playing a game if I tell them constantly, you're not good. You need to build them up. You have to have the confidence. The issue, as we all know, comes when that confidence turns into supremacy. It turns into complacency. It turns into something like, I, me, my tribe is best and nobody else's. What happens there is we stop listening. We stop listening to people. And when we stop listening to people, we stop understanding them. And I said in my recent webinar with Leonardo D'Urso, Ximena knows him as well, from Italy, I said, when you stop listening, what happens is the person you're going to hurt is yourself. Because the way to become intelligent, in my humble opinion, is to gain multiple perspectives, positions, interests, if you may, to your mind and expand your mind, right? So when we stop listening to people, we stop becoming smarter, which we need to have meaning in life. We need to evolve constantly to engage with ourselves, who we are, our identity, and improve. So my point is, confidence is good. Complacency in whoever you are and thinking you are the best, my humble opinion, please don't have it. There is no one who's best here. We're all in a journey in our own way. We're all learning. You know, recently I gave a talk. Let me pick up a book here in my background. All right, Ketan Bhagat's book here. Okay, just picked it up. So the thing is, where are we in our life? So I sometimes say to law students and to lawyers, even young lawyers, I say, when you go to get a job interview, or you want to meet with someone who can help you get a job, let's say it's not an interview. Many of us go there and say, here's my resume. These are great things I've done. Help me, right? I don't want you to do that. Send them the resume by email beforehand. But when you're there with them, talk about their book. What is their book? Their life is a book. Talk to them, sir, ma'am. What I see is you're on chapter 7 or 8. And I've tried to read through chapter 1 to 7. You've done some phenomenal work in life. Would you please guide me? How did you read chapter 9? What did you do? I'm not sure about chapter 1. Can you tell me more about where were you born? How did you? And understanding that book is beautiful. But my point is, we're at different places in a book. That doesn't mean we don't belong to a book. We still belong to a book. We're in different places, and it's perfectly fine. We're all together in some ways. So with that little background on identity, my conclusion on that is we need to be humble of who we are to be able to be better in where we need to be in future, right? I will end this story by telling you a little personal anecdote. I grew up close to the border of Pakistan. I grew up in a Sikh family, as you can easily tell. Some of my best friends were Sikh men and women, Hindu men and women, Muslim men and women. And these are at least 3 faiths. I came to the United States, I made friends with Jewish faith as well. And now I'm also friends with Catholics and Christians and Church of Christ. The beauty of life is that I opened my heart and mind to these faiths, and they showed me so much in my life. If I had stayed in my room and thought, I only want to be friends with Sikh men and women, or that's all they know, or this is the best there is, the life will continue, but I would have lost that. So now let's apply this to mediation. Be with me, okay? You want to be a good mediator? You need to do more of what we're doing right now. Listen to mediators from around the world. We are one profession that infiltrates deep into our hearts and minds. Our professional identity infiltrates. We are one profession. If we become a good listener, we can apply those listening skills to our family, to our neighbor, to our national politics, international disputes. without having to have all the cap of mediator. We are one profession. If we refine our thinking in terms of impartiality, we become good impartial citizens, which we all need to be, right? To be a good mediator, at least have a lens of neutrality. Impartiality is, we all know, not easy, and not multi-partiality, however you want to talk about it. The beauty is you have trained your mind to look the world with this picture. Now, if I was invited today and I asked Ximena, how many people are there? Who are they? Right? I don't know if I want to be open. You bring anybody you want to bring. And the point is I need to be open to your beautiful souls and thoughts and minds, and I'll become better through that, right? So as a mediator, my quick thought is this: our identity is deep because it intertwines with who we are naturally. You are a Christian, you can be a good mediator, and you can use your Christianity, you can use your mediation skills intertwined, and that's the beauty of mediation, right? You are a Jewish scholar, Jewish thinker, and you're a mediator again. And the beauty is that the beauty of mediation is it intertwines with our other identities, with being a good father. If I want to be a good father, I better listen to my children. I better be nice to my wife. I better become a compassionate human being first, who is flexible and who is honest and who gives time to the people who need his time, in this case, the family. Let's apply that to mediation. Are you compassionate? Are you a good listener? Are you giving time to your clients when they need your time? And if you are, how I say it, bring your presence. If you bringing your spiritual, your mental, your emotional, your physical presence, in this case, we are trying to bring our physical presence through camera, nothing can stop you, right? Because what you're bringing with you is a revolution. It's a revolution that transforms us as citizens internally. And that's the beauty of mediation. It's a revolution that transforms the inner engines of a human being to become a better person. And what other profession gives you that opportunity? Name me one, right? What other profession tells you that you can help people resolve conflict and help better their lives, or help them reduce stress, or help them talk to each other, make them understand each other? Isn't our world conflict right now about understanding? Just look around, what's happening in the United States, unfortunately, right now, today, right? We have riots going on in a couple of states, and because we have stopped listening to each other. We have stopped listening. Somebody's saying that, hey, I need help. We're not listening to that person. We continue doing what we need to do. And look where we are at. I'm going to pause in 1 minute and take a pause and give you some breather and ask me questions. But here is my conclusion. That identity where I grew up, to a proud Sikh family of amazing parents. My father is a president of a university in India, has done some amazing, amazing work giving jobs to people who sometimes don't get jobs anywhere else. My mother, who took care of me and my sister when we were growing up, gave me contentment. I would not be a content person today if it was not my mother, who gave all the time in the life, in the world, to us growing up. These roles of a mother, of a father, are very critical. In my situation, these are the roles. You can reverse the roles in anything, right? And I would not be a good mediator if I had had a good upbringing. I might be a good mediator if I hadn't had good upbringing, but I had to work really deep inside me, and I had to work intentionally, and I had to work continuously. And I can then. It's all inner. It's inner here. But the profession gives you that opportunity to correct your original identity and make it better, is what I'm trying to say. So welcome to this profession. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and I'm assuming all of you are in Ecuador, there is nothing better than belonging to a dispute resolution fraternity, revolution, and thinking and thought process. And we need each other more than ever. So with that, if I said anything I shouldn't have said, please forgive me. And I want to pause here and see any comments, any questions. I'm happy to engage in a dialogue instead of just lecturing to you. So you already know most of the things I said. So if it was a repetition, again, my apologies. But I want to pause here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor.
You are muted, Ximena, I think.
No. But thank you so much, Professor Sukhsimranjit. And now, you know, if I've had the wonderful opportunity to talk to you often, so I would like to have my friends see if they want to ask any question and engage in dialogue.
We all agree. Apparently, apparently we all agree.
I guess the question I have is probably colored by a case I'm having right now, quite a difficult case.
Yes.
Where I find myself, I've been finding myself unable, and this has not happened to me before. Haven't been doing this thing for a very long time, by the way, but still, where it has been impossible up to this point for me to get either side to somewhat understand the other. I'm making a big effort to understand both of them, and I think I do. And every time I pose to the other side, say, "Don't you," or "Do you see any validity of this and that?" I'm finding myself unable to. So that fact about understanding one another and us understanding the parts, which is what I think you're getting at ultimately. When it becomes super difficult, like I'm finding right now, to get the parties to see any good in one another, do you have any words of advice regarding that?
Francisco, my brother, what you're actually asking me is to talk about how to be a mediator in a few minutes. Our job is actually, right, and it's a very good question, to help parties understand each other, because if they don't understand each other, how will you be able to persuade them to listen and work with each other and accept each other's proposals? Yes, there's a possibility. Their exception would be you tell them, we call in US, as you know, mediator's proposal. They stop understanding each other and you say, fine, no need to understand each other. Let me tell you what a solution should look like, could look like. And you make intervention there and you say, this is my proposal, accepted or not accepted, wherever you want to go. Now take the exception to the side. The question is, how do you make them listen to each other? And your question, I think, Francisco, goes to the heart of conflict, which is identity-based conflict, or conflict where people are so entrenched in their positions. They're like, I don't want to work with the other party, whereas you want to help them work. So let's quickly summarize what we can do, right? We as mediators can help them see each other's stories through, of course, storytelling, looping, we say paraphrasing, asking good questions, telling them, do you understand the other side? And I'm assuming you've done all of that. You know, do this process of mediation, which I think some of my amazing colleagues here in the US has done a really good job in writing materials and theory on how can we have a person look at the other person in terms of process. So all these steps, looping, summarizing, asking questions, listening, and we follow those steps. And let's assume we have done that. Even then, they're unwilling. And I've had some cases. There was a temple dispute that actually I was mediating in San Diego. And I felt as helpless or even more, that I couldn't believe that one group will not listen to the other group, even after I've done all of that, right? So I give up tip number 2 now. Sometimes what works is what some people call reverse psychology. Sometimes we could not, and we don't have to do too much. What works is this. Okay, what I have to tell you was I just told you. Now, I want you to make a determination. You're talking to parties. I want you to make your determination, okay? I have done everything I could. I've told you their story, and I've told both sides that the best way to move forward is to listen, work with each other, and we even discuss a couple of compromises. Now, I'm still not seeing any movement from your side, and that's okay, but I'm just telling you where we are right now. Now, what I want to tell you is this. I am going to pause this mediation, and I want you to think, is there anything that ticks you, clicks with you, you want to work? Perfect. If not, I think we're good. Now, it takes some guts to go here. Many of us keep fighting till the very end. Oh, please, no, hold on. Let me try one more thing. Sometimes what works with parties is that strong stand where you say, I don't think you can work. And so let me go to point number 3 now. Some mediators I've seen, including my couple of family members who are amazing mediators without any training in mediation, what I've seen them do is then they use the other tactic, which is like, okay, I've seen many parties in similar situation, and I've seen them resolve the conflict. I've seen you since morning, and you've been very civil, very good, very energetic and helpful. Right now, unfortunately, what you're doing is you're making me change my beliefs, my view about you. Now I'm thinking, I don't know if you're that sophisticated, if you may, or that kind to each other, or that you're that kind to your own future. I think you want to be kind to yourself, reduce the stress level, work towards a resolution. You would be budging right now. You would be accepting whatever, fill in the blank. I don't see that right now. And I'm sad for you. And if you want to move forward, great. If you don't want to move forward, perfect. I mean, at some point you have to see yourself in the other, right? And if you see yourself as this person who's going to stay competent, competing, not collaborating, stay in the anger zone, not compassionate, stay in, I am right, I'm not going to work unless he or she apologizes, whatever that story is, perfect. Let me tell you, my friend, this is your life. My job is to help you resolve, walk to each other. And I've done my job and I'm doing my job. But right now, I need you to do something to show me that you are also committed, that you're also motivated, that you're also interested in moving that path with me. Now, I'm not saying do that to every client, every situation, but I'm saying in extreme situations, you may want to do something like this to bring the reality of who is helping here, right? Am I helping myself? No, I've got my job, I've got my home, I've got my family. I'm helping you, my friend. And how can you help yourself? Right now, you're not helping yourself because whatever I'm saying, you're not listening. So that's third kind, right? Fourth step. Sometimes, my friend, silence is amazingly powerful. Don't say anything for 5 minutes. Try it. I mean, it's going to be not easy for us. We like to talk as mediators. We know that, right? Don't speak. Give it 2 minutes. One person will speak and they may say, who knows? They may say, fine, one thing I can do, and they're looking for that opening. Or, however, I will never say this unless this. Okay, that's also an opening. You're hearing them deeply. Mm-hmm. And the fifth thing I'll do is I'll actually literally take a physical break. I'll leave the room, and some people take psychological breaks, giving a story, telling them about their case, or leaving the room, giving them just space, going for a walk, taking a lunch break, dinner break. So anyways, just quick thoughts that I have. I can continue to talk, but it's such a good question. I mean, the real question is, here's the question if I rephrase, can you bring motivation in people for resolution? What we are lighting up, you're lighting up something, what you're lighting up is motivation. Is yes, I want to help myself and I want to resolve the conflict. And when the motivation is dead and you see that I'm good, I'm not going to talk to him, no matter. And you got to just somehow find a way to lighten up, to bring birth, give light to that motivation. Because once they have that motivation, they will do all the work. Then your job is just to watch and facilitate, right? I hope this was somewhat helpful. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, thanks. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we have 2 calls, and then on Monday again we meet. So fantastic, fantastic.
Great. No, I hope it helps you, Francisco. And Ximena has my email. You want to reach out further, talk to me. I'm very happy to. This is a very good question because we see it often in difficult cases where parties are stuck. Sometimes in US we call them impasse. But there's one thing about impasse. Remember, parties came to you because they were already at impasse. Why would they come? So this is not, we have to differentiate, okay? This is not a regular impasse. This is what we should call advanced impasse or an impasse in a later stage, because we have made some movement as mediators, showed them the path, and they started walking. And 30%, 40%, 50%, 60% down the line, they suddenly say, I quit, I'm done. And then you and I as mediators are looking at each other and thinking, what? I put so much effort with you and you're done? So it's an advanced impasse where you're looking for that motivation. And I hope one of those tips helps, but very good. Other questions or comments?
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
I'm gonna write it down.
I have a question.
Okay. Ximena, you want to moderate? I heard Alvaro and Lucia, I think.
Yes,
Okay.
Alvaro, please go ahead.
Please, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ximena. Thank you, Professor. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the dispute between Chevron and the Republic of Ecuador.
Not to a deep extent, but I'm familiar with the basics of it. Guide me. Tell me from your perspective.
Thank you, Professor. I've been closely involved in different times in my professional life in that dispute, always on one side, and the side has been always on the Ecuador's side. Mm-hmm. And I think in all the disputes that I have seen in my life, this is maybe the most difficult one mm-hmm. that I have had to appreciate as at least from the perspective of one of the parties involved in that dispute. Mm-hmm. And I think that the problem in this particular dispute is that all the parties involved have demonized the other parties. Mm-hmm. And at some point, the only way to find a resolution to their dispute is basically the destruction of the other side. So I was wondering if you had any insight on how these parties, in particular, we can identify three different parties in this dispute. Mm-hmm. Chevron in one side, the Republic of Ecuador mm-hmm. in the other side, and the local indigenous communities of Ecuador in the Amazon region mm-hmm. in another side. How can you try to bring together these three different perspectives to this particular dispute to try to find a settlement to a yes. dispute that has been there for more than 20 years now?
Alvaro, very good question. And let me start by telling you one of the ways in which we as dispute resolvers can think of settlement or path towards settlement is by comparison. History teaches us a lot. There have been disputes around the world, they will never be exact same dispute. We all know that. Every party is unique, every situation is unique. So I don't mean to disrespect any dispute by saying what I'm going to say next. I have all respect for individuality. But let's say the dispute of indigenous population in the northern island of New Zealand with the Crown, with the British government. Now, there are people who have belonged to New Zealand. They lived there. There are the Crown, the British government involved, in some ways coming from outside. And then there's an indigenous population. If you look at that dispute, just an example quickly, and I have other examples. There are folks, there are law professors that I know of who have written books studying that conflict and how it came to at least one major settlement. It was not easy, it took years, took more than $1 billion, but it reached a settlement, to my understanding. And I've read just a couple of books. I may have one right here around me somewhere. And the level of complexity there is, the level of meetings it took. For example, who can speak the local language? Who is the most, there are some questions I'm going to share with you. Which party feels the most exploited? Is it the local people? Then we need to work with them first. Because if you ignore them, you're done. There is no negotiation. To have a negotiation, you have to bring people to the table. And I'm assuming it's not going to be Chevron, with all due respect to the very big corporation, that is not interested in this resolution, because it's public-facing corporation, they have stock market, they have all this, and they want to appear to be good. But in this case, it will be the local population, if I'm assuming right. And then will be the Republic of Georgia, and then will be the Chevron. So what are we doing? What is their need? What are their, in India, there's a word called demand, right? A very strict word. What's their demand? Sometimes people put pre-negotiation demands. So before you adapt the role of mediator, you may, as I'm hearing from you, You may have to be an advocate. You may even have to be a coach before you become a mediator. You may have to coach that group and say, listen, here are the 3 benefits if you talk to Chevron and if you work with our Republic of Georgia and our government officials. And here are 2 downsides if you do it. I want you to make an informed decision. You may need to hire an advocate. My job is a dispute resolver. I bring in multiple perspectives and I look things through impartial lens. And if you want to push me, here is what I'll tell you that you should or should not do. But make your own informed decision. That meeting, which I think we all know called pre-mediation meeting, to me is crucial. And in a high level complexity like you mentioned, there has to be series of these meetings with people who are right in the heart of conflict. Is it village elders, right? Is it one village that is more concerned than the other, right? Is it caste or class involved? Has there been exploitation in the past? What damage has been done to human fabric before you go to the economic damage and the environmental damage? Damage happens to souls, which we often ignore. What damage happened to the human fabric? Which family got run over? Which human being got totally disrespected having lived in that place for 80 years? So forth. That has to be understood, analyzed, looked after, coached, worked with before you jump into this international mediation. Hey, Chevron, send me 2 representatives. And it's not that easy. This is years, if not decades and centuries in the building, in the making. If it's 3 decades in the making, you can't resolve this in 3 hours. Let's just be honest about it. So we need to be dedicated to that. Anyways, so that's my second take, I should say, comparative perspective, and then looking deeply, understanding and coaching the people bringing up. My last take would be this. People are different in different cultures. What you're actually speaking, my friend, are 3 different cultures. Culture of a government. These are organizational cultures. Culture of indigenous population, let's call native population, proud native population. There are all these word choices you have to be careful with, whichever they prefer. And third, the culture of a huge, big, multinational corporation. All 3 different cultures. Do you understand? I'm not asking you, but I'm asking as a mediator. Do we understand how culture plays a role in such situation? So we may have to spend 6 months with a culture whose soul has been impacted. And we may have to spend 6 days with a culture who lost $637 million, let's say. These are totally different cultures. Our job as a mediator is to pay attention differently to different needs and change and be flexible accordingly. So my third point would be this: meet with people as to where they are. You bow down if you have to. You shout up. You shout at them if you need to, right? You do this if you have to, beg. And you become stern if you need to. This is what our profession gives us. And you apply all of those skill sets in an important and multi-generational and multinational conflict like that. Last comment I'll say, make a team. Involve 2 or 3 other mediators and have a talk, because it's such a complex case. This is a perfect opportunity that gives you to say, Ximena, join my board here. Right? Let's work on this together. And this is what you're doing, actually. This is so beautiful and wise to see that you as mediators are coming together and having this discussion and bringing, people who don't know much like me somehow through mistakes. Don't make those mistakes again. But you're doing so much. And that's the beauty, because our profession is isolated. We don't have friends. We don't talk to each other. We don't bring each other to our mediations. Because why? Because there are limited cases. We get the case and here we go. We resolve it and we want the second case. And that comes in third case. So we don't tell, hey, I got a BP case today. No. And so this discussion, so bring on a colleague, a friend on board and share. I started with this. Share your vulnerability, which is, I have no idea what to do now. This is what I did and I need help. All we need to do at times in life is just say that. And there are some amazing people, souls who will help us at the right time. So I don't know if I helped you at all. This was a very difficult question, and it tells me I need to end this call now before it goes more difficult. You know,
Very helpful, Professor. Very helpful. Thank you very much.
I don't know. I tried. I know I did not do a good job, so my apologies. I tried. But sorry. I have a couple of books for you. I want to recommend you. So I will send them to Ximena, and she will share with you. Because it's such a good question. I do have a couple of books that comes to my mind of intergenerational international conflict that really helped me understand. Some people in the US, we call it public policy conflict. I don't want to put it into one category. This is more of a bigger conflict than that, but there are amazing thinkers who have put 30, 40 years of their thought into conflicts like this. Let's not ignore that wisdom. Read up that. Like, for example, there's one book called Master Mediators. And anyway, so I'll go into that, and I will share some books with Ximena. And maybe one more question, Ximena,
Thank you, Professor. A couple, if possible. Just Lucia.
No. One.
And then an advice that I wanted to ask you. Lucia.
Thank you so much. It's very inspiring to hear your thoughts. And I just wanted to ask you to go a little bit deeper in a concept that you use already about being a coach. Because we are all professional mediators and we love what we do. Yes. We are also in the process of building this group and staying together. So what would be your advice to keep us together, to give us some inspiration to keep working as a group instead of as an individual?
Yeah, thank you. There are people who are way more smarter than I am in that area, but I will take a hit. I will give you some answer, but I will be honest, I'm not expert in coaching. I can think of several, and I can think of my friend from Pittsburgh, and others who are experts in conflict coaching. But let me tell you a little bit, and then I'll give you a name or two to think of in contact further. The way I will approach the topic of conflict coaching or coaching people generally is by asking you this. All of us, let's be open and vulnerable. How many of us at any point in life had a need to be coached by somebody? Yeah? That need, okay, tell me what to do. I need help. I need that direction. It can become, coach is also a legal word in some societies. You may even use the word mentor, right? Mentorship. If I am you, I want to see if there is a need for a party in international conflict. In America, we have different rules. You cannot meet with parties sometimes beforehand alone and all the above, and lawyers are involved in many cases. So you either become a mediator or become their coach and advocate in some situations. But internationally speaking, cross-culturally speaking, if your local laws and rules permit, what I would do if I have an international conflict, I will become, if you may, become their mentor or a friend. Does that mean you have to cross over that impartiality? Yes. For the first time, yes. But I'll do the same thing with the other side if I can. If I have the capability to be able to do that from both sides. So coaching to me is this: bringing people to the awareness of the benefits and pitfalls of a mediation session. They need both. For example, I once coached a client from Canada, and it was a woman, and I had to help her realize what are the benefits if she goes to court and what are the benefits if she comes to mediation. And she really thanked me because, see, some cases are meant to go to court because of the value of precedent, because of, that was an international case, and India and Canada was involved, and because of all the international laws that are involved, and maybe that's because she wanted to protect her children and what. So you can't just, and I coached her and I left, and the coaching was, I think you should go to court and hire an attorney instead of come to me and let me help you resolve this case. You need to be in a comfortable, content place as a mediator before you can be a good coach. You cannot take a case just to make the money and then think you can also be a good coach, because then you're driven by something else. You're driven by the hours. You're driven by a resolution because you want people to think you are the best mediator because you resolve this big case and all the above. you need to find a place in yourself which is like, okay, can I coach this person? And to coach, it takes, again, vulnerability. It takes that next step and takes that fear out, which is, what if I don't resolve it? And that's, yeah. So that's just a couple of things on, on coaching. Last thing I will say, there is some of my good friends here in the US have done some very good work, and I can happy to put you in touch with a couple of them, but I'll give you one name right away. It's a good friend of mine. Her name is Selena Schultz. Selena Schultz. And she lives in Pittsburgh, owner of Conflict Lab. And she does some wonderful teaching, training, thinking on coaching, conflict coaching. And maybe I can arrange a session between you folks and her. And she will be the best person to ask that question, in my mind. I'm not an expert over there.
No, thank you so much. My idea was to ask you a little bit more about your insight of the importance of keeping this group together.
Yes.
That's what I use the word coach. But thank you so much for your thoughts. And
you have a beautiful painting in the background. That's nice.
Oh,
Beautiful setup. Thank you. Yes. My pleasure, Lucia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Sukhsimran. I know that you're not feeling very well today, so I don't want to take more time than you already gave us. And I appreciate you being here and inspiring us in staying as a group and reaching to each other with this vulnerability and helping each other, knowing that we are mediators, that's a very lone profession. And we need each other to make it more than just one can do. Thank you so much.
Can I say just one last thing, Ximena, and then we can. The way I've evolved as a mediator in the last 16 years is only one thing, more than one thing, but one major thing that has really helped me, besides mentors and teachers like Judge Daniel Weinstein, both Ximena and I know him, and others. One thing that really helped me is that I have a zeal, I have a need, I have this fight in me to take up difficult matters and see if I can help them. I have this inbuilt challenge, if you may, that I have with myself. I want to help this people. I want to have that people. I want to go out and get out of my comfort zone to help them. Can I fail? Yes. Will it be difficult? Absolutely. Will it push me? Oh, yes. Will it teach me something? Absolutely, yes. Will it make me look foolish at some point? Maybe. But will it push me to become a better person, especially, again, identity, better mediator? Absolutely. So my request to you all is, you already are doing it, right? You're doing a BP, the Chevron case and others. Please pick up cases out of your comfort zone as long as everybody agrees. Because that's what improves us. That's what takes us to the next level. And there is so much need for cross-cultural mediators internationally. So my last point, don't restrict yourself to Ecuador, please. The vision, the upbringing you have, the culture you have, all I know about Ximena and her amazing husband, they're so cooperative, nice, always smiling. They'll, she flew down with her mother and her husband for an event at Pepperdine. And I was like, wow. And she gave a whole week there. And that's the culture, right? That's the national culture, is hospitality, is giving, is being there, being generous. And maybe the world needs it. So don't close your eyes to the world, okay? If I said anything, please forgive me. I'm learning like you are, but such a joy. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Professor Sukhsimran. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm going to leave now. Thank you. Okay, take care.
Thank you. Everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything.
Bye.
Bye, Professor.
If you do see any of my YouTube videos, make sure you press the like button.
absolutely.
Will do.
Bye-bye.
Take
Very
care.
much.